Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Code Talks. This is the third episode, and today we have with us Mikhaila Fitzpatrick. Will you like to talk us a bit about you?
Yeah. So as Ricardo said, I'm Michaela. I'm living in Clare at the moment on the west coast of Ireland. Um, I met Ricardo through the .NET group in Cork. So I'm very much I'm a junior at the moment. I'm about almost a year into my journey as a developer. I recently got a job as a junior dev in a wonderful startup in Sweden. So I've had a real great opportunity to learn in this new field. So this is my first step into learning in this way through the community.
Okay, that's awesome. And I suppose working for a startup is always awesome because you can try new stuff, but also in a new country, so a different culture, great ways to grow up as a professional and work with different cultures is always nice, I think.
Absolutely. Working in this team, we're actually a virtual team pretty much. So there's a few of us spread across one or two countries, and being so close or like working so close with these people professionally is just amazing. You know, you learn so much, and you're brought along, one on one most of the time, learning different things from people who are very experienced. So, oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's
that's
totally
awesome. Yeah.
so.
So, first question of the day, why do you use or do you use VS Code?
I do, I do use VS Code. Um, I suppose from where I'm coming from as a junior, VS Code was all I ever knew, to be honest. A year into my journey, when I was doing tutorials, all people were using in my field front end was VS Code, and VS Code is known as front end out of the box. So for me, following tutorials, it was really important to be able to understand the environment that they were being done in, and VS Code is super easy to follow, given that the UI so simple and the UX, trying to learn all the terms that people are using in these videos when you're starting off can be a bit overwhelming sometimes. But I thought VS Code was really easy to get into, and it has a nice setup where we all know it's so lightweight that you can customize it, which is great. So whether you're starting off in front end or back end, as a starting point, it was really helpful for me to use and to get into. And I've been using it ever since. I have not really found a reason to go into anything else. Like I know in your previous videos, some of the guys that you've talked to are very experienced and they've been there for so many years that they're only using VS Code now, whereas that's all I've known. So it's very interesting to see, how the editors have come along in the last few decades, you know?
Yeah, I personally started to use VS Code because it was so lightweight, as you said, and fast, and especially to do UI stuff. It's just so easy to get it running and get my solution working and start coding without waiting it to load and to set up all the stuff that it's needed. It definitely a great editor, and I suppose people that are just starting now. Find it easier or it because you don't have the experience with something back, you're just starting, and there's so much tutorials and books and everything. Everyone is using VS Code these days, so it's really awesome to know that you're using it not only because you saw those tutorials, but because it works for you. So sometimes we can see someone use a different tool, and we try it, and it's not really what we like to use, or it doesn't work for us. But I think, yeah, VS Code is really intuitive, so you can pick up really fast how to use it and how to start to be productive with that. So I suppose that you kind of already asked why VS Code. So you said that you are using it for about a year now, is it?
Yeah, using it for a year. I use it in both my professional and my personal life, I guess. It's my playground, it's my professional playground as well. When you mentioned intuitive there, it's awesome because in the company that I work for, we use a lot of Visual Studio, the big guy. But often enough, we've all said it, for a quick fix or just to poke around at something, we just throw it into VS Code as a lightweight solution, and we're able to poke around, even if it's in C sharp. And like you said, intuitive. When you plug in well, what's not normal for me, I usually have JavaScript or whatever. So when you plug in your C# project, immediately you get a pop-up saying, oh, shall we install the C# extension for you, because that will help you run the code on it. So like you said, intuitive, it's really helpful that it just helps you figure these things out much more quickly and much more easier when you're not familiar with the environment or putting in something new to it. So yeah, I found it really helpful in both ways. On my free time, I'm more of a front-end developer. No, actually, in both. But I suppose my introduction to the job was with C#. So it's an unusual setup, but it allows me to do both. A bit of back end, a bit of front end, whatever you want to do with it. It's very, very adaptable and flexible. So it's super comforting to know that even in my professional career, it's being used. It's easy to adapt to then as well when you're going from Visual Studio to Visual Studio Code. And there's just that ease and that flow between the two when you want to do certain functionalities, I guess, which is
Yeah.
helpful. So helpful.
Yeah, you touched a good point there about the extensions, and I think one thing that makes VS Code awesome is the community building such a number of extensions, and I'm pretty much whatever the case, you can find, you'll find an extension, and if you can't find one, you can build your own. So I rely heavily on extensions, and we can talk a bit more after about the ones that you use. So you said that you use this for front end and you use it both for your freelance and day job.
Mhm.
So do you find other cases where, like, I don't know, you already mentioned when you are doing tutorials. So I suppose that your day, it's a mix between front end and back end, and you find a way to use VS Code maybe whenever possible, just because it's maybe the tool that you are more used to.
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm doing tutorials, it's very easy, like I said, to transcribe what you're learning into building your own projects, creating your own ideas. So I find that, like you said, with the help of extensions and the adaptable environment, it's very easy to manipulate what you're doing and to, I suppose the flow is just easy to get into. Like I said, the UI is super easy. So you're not trying to handle a load of different functionalities. You can just pick and choose what you want to deal with, what you want to work with. You can edit your workspaces. I love having 2 or 3 projects on the side and just going between the 2 or 3 that I use per week. I often do tutorials during the day, and then at nighttime I might kind of look into them and fiddle around with VS Code. And yeah, I mean, there's so much out there. I've watched so many tutorials, and all of them are VS Code. And again, that's probably down to the languages that I'm using, which is more front end, which is exactly what VS Code is for. But it's number one for a reason. You see the polls at the moment. I saw
Yeah.
one there 2 years ago. Like it's number one, and I know people are probably maybe still changing for those that are in the industry for a long time. But definitely, I don't think I'll be going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what do you love the most about VS Code?
Yeah, when you told me that you'd be asking me this, I had a good think about it, and I suppose like everything I've said about it is so positive, and I don't have an answer, by the way, for what I hate the most about it, because I could not think of anything. But what do I love the most about it? So what came to me instinctly is like um, comfort zone. That is literally what I would call my comfort zone. Having built in that environment the whole time. Maybe it's a bad thing. I just couldn't go to anything else, and not that I couldn't adapt to it, but it's made so easy that even going to Visual Studio was kind of like wow, this is a big guy. It's kind of overwhelming almost, and a bit daunting to look at sometimes unless you know what you're doing. And even I know some people would be like, we don't even know half of what Visual Studio can do. It's so
You,
big and so
you end
useful
up
in so many ways.
using mostly the same things
Yeah.
throughout your career, and that's so there's so much that you can do.
Exactly. But yeah, so I would say what I love, sorry, about it most is that it is my comfort zone. It's like a home for me and my code. And like I said, I have a load of projects loaded there often, and I can just flit around between the few, run a few of them. I don't do a lot of testing yet, but I've heard so much about it, so there's loads more to learn. But it doesn't feel like it's a daunting thing to approach when it comes to VS Code.
Yeah. Yeah, we can certainly at some point do some pair programming or something and go about the testing. And there's so much that I'm pretty sure I will learn from you, and a few things that I can and I hope I can share with you also. So, do you use shortcuts? Do you have one that it's your favorite?
Do I have one? Um, I don't. I know you gave me this question as well, and I don't really have a favorite shortcut. I suppose it's funny because they're so useful, but I'm still kind of discovering them. I mean, Emmet is just obviously amazing, and I'm still getting into all the tricks to do with that. I use them when I can, but I'm still so programmed to write out everything, you know. So I'm still getting into that. But I suppose some of the extensions that I'm using right now and revolve around shortcuts. So that's pretty nifty in that way. So yeah, hopefully we can explore that in a bit. So yeah, I don't have a favorite, but come back to me in a year's time and we'll see all the tricks I have up my sleeve then.
Yeah, so one thing that I use a lot, maybe my favorite, and I can share this with you, is
Go for
Control Shift P. It's the go-to everything, and that's just opens that um, prompt dialog on the top of it, and you can navigate anywhere from there. And when I'm stuck with shortcuts, and because I used ReSharper on Visual Studio for some time, and my team was using the IntelliJ shortcuts, and now my team is using the Visual Studio shortcuts, I had to change the shortcut, the key bindings to the Visual Studio style, and I'm struggling all the time because I'm hitting constantly shortcuts that they are just automatic. I don't think about it. I just hit them and they don't work. So my tip is I do Control Shift P, and then you type shortcuts, and you have one of the options that will show to you is Help Keyboard Shortcuts Reference, and when you click that, you just are redirected to a PDF with all the shortcuts, and that's the way that I use. I just keep them open, that file open, and every time that I want to do something, I try to find the shortcut first,
it.
and then try to use it. So Control Shift P is the solution to all problems that you might have, if you have any problems
Lots of
using
problems.
VS Code. Yeah. So I would ask you about this time. Do you have something you want to share with us? Do you want to show us how you hack?
How I hack. Yeah, I mean, let's go for it. I think from a junior perspective, there are things that are a must, you know, to have in Visual Studio. Um, okay, VS Code. Here we go. Okay, so like I said, yeah, my extensions. Well, let's just have a look at a few of them that I have. I'm still building on it. I'm still learning. They're a learning curve. Different ones for different things, mostly front end, of course. So let's go to the first one. So one of the ones I'll go through is Bootstrap. So of course, as a front end, Bootstrap is the bomb. I have been using it more in React nowadays, but just as a standard package, I guess. I had to use it for one of my work projects. So it has a cool extension, shortcuts and stuff. So this is, for example, I suppose, a little page that I can build, but really easy because all you have to do is, let's say they all start with B5, right? Bootstrap 5, and then it has all your list of elements here. So you can really tab through them. And often enough, when you go into, let's go into card, for example, and then you can literally just tab through everything to change the relevant fields. Or sometimes it's even like, you know, the classes where you might have, for example, these guys, the columns, where maybe let's just do a B5 col. And then see here, you can just literally pick, you know, whether it's your medium-sized screen and then 6 width or whatever. Sorry, you could do that beforehand when you're tabbing through. But yeah, it's really, really streamlined, which is awesome because I think Bootstrap 5 is nearly out of full release. Just to be aware though, this one is still at the alpha. This extension is Bootstrap Alpha and the beta has come out since, so people can be aware of that. But just to flick around, and I suppose I like to bang out a few pages on this when I'm testing maybe an animation package or something. I just throw in a few elements on the page. I will probably, I suppose not use this for React, but like I said, but in general, for anything else, I would just bang out Bootstrap 5, and it has basically a whole library of stuff that you can use there through the short. Another cool thing actually I discovered recently was this guy. So I think I might actually open up my React project. Let's just go to that for a minute. This guy, and I'll just run. I'm on Node. Oh, it is on. Hold on. Well, just go again. I'm just going to start it up. What's really cool is this little thing. So when I'm not really near a monitor, sometimes if I'm like traveling or something, let's just go back to VS Code, and I'm on a small screen, it's kind of handy to have this little guy. So this is like the browser preview. I don't know how well known this is, but it's really nice because I can just, I suppose I'll just toggle this on the left. And if I'm looking at maybe not really layout changes, but even color changes or font stuff, little changes I can just have a look at in my VS Code view, which is really nice. So that's super handy for me. I personally love that. Small screen, but at least you're not going back and forth, flicking up and trying to get to the browser view. So that's pretty nice. And you can go into different settings. Like you can set this that you have, let's just see. You can set the starting URL. So I have it set to my React portal, but you can almost do anything else if you wanted to. So that's pretty handy. And that can be for that can just even be for the any other normal projects that's not React or whatever. So that's one of them that I find really useful. Another one, well, for React, I suppose the ES7, the snippets, really, really handy. I suppose I have my go-tos. Let's bring up my React project. Let's go to home. Okay, cool. It's blank. It's very much a beginner thing. But if I was to recreate this function, I'd go React functional component, and there you have it again, So really, really simple, really quick. And there are a bunch of things here, it's even up to date with like an arrow function if you wanted to, it has all that kind of stuff, which is really awesome. I use obviously Material UI for my React projects at the moment, but when you're creating your own components, this is really, really a good quick fix. Also, another thing that I really love is I use styled components now that I'm into React and all this component-based kind of coding. So when I'm, let's say, doing a style, what am I doing? Okay, well, let's just say, yeah, let's just make another div with, well, yeah, just a div. And let's just make it, well, actually, no, I'll put in a h1 here just so there's like a content thing. Okay, and then I'll make this a style component, I guess. Let's style the div just for context. We'll call it styles div. And yeah, what I like then, what I'm going to use is this auto rename tag, which is really handy because I find copying and pasting is just that's just really annoying when you do it a lot. So obviously when you use style components, you're renaming the component tag or the style tag. Yeah, the element tag, that's it, that you're styling. So hence, if you're, let's just put in a background color here. Let's just put it black. So then obviously this is a div I want to style. And when I do one, if I like do this, you see how automatically changes the end tag, edit the start tag. That's super handy because otherwise I would have been like, when I was starting out, I was just copying, pasting, and you're doing like a load of elements on a single page or whatever, or in a component, you're just, it's just tedious, So
and
that's kind of,
that copy paste is like bad karma, always comes back to haunt you.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah,
I don't know why that's not working. That's kind of embarrassing, but that's the idea. We're doing the auto rename tag here, so let's just focus on that.
And you mentioned Emmet, and I've seen you using well, every time that you try to type something, you get Emmet. But what was the most complicated or the most or the longest Emmet snippet that you used to generate code that you can remember? Can get pretty complex when you're adding classes and ULs with LIs with classes and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. I think the one, and to be honest, when I'm using image, it's like I only use the ones that I really know when I'm actually in, I suppose development mode. But when I'm messing around, I have tried to, like you said, do the UL tags with the lists and those greater and signs or whatever, and then multiply by 3. And then you would have had, I would have actually done it with bootstrap classes when I didn't have these shortcuts back in the beginning. I would have been trying to put bootstrap classes into those. I couldn't do it for you now though, because I think my head would be wrecked trying to remember what I did. But I don't know if it even worked out in the end. But yeah, like you said, I was trying to combine bootstrap classes with some of the unordered list tags with the list items. And yeah, I don't think that worked out great, but I'm getting into it slowly. I'm just using Bootstrap 5 extensions now anyway, so
Yeah.
I'm actually quite happy to use that instead. But that's an example, like I said, of just bettering it and making it more useful towards whatever you're doing with it, I guess,
Yeah.
What's the longest one you've had?
I tried to do like divs with list items, multiplying, applying different classes with anchors and stuff like that. It usually I need a few tries until I get it straight. But like simple things, like I know that I'm going to add a div with a paragraph and a span or something like that. I just try to make it automatically appear using Emmet. I use it a lot when I'm working with front end on HTML. Yeah, I see that you are using some extensions that I use. One that I like a lot is Git Lens. It just shows you on the lines that you are touching information about the latest commits, who did it and when, and then you can just link to that commit. It's always nice because when I'm working in a project with other people, and usually I'm working with other people, sometimes I want to ask them why they did that, or I have a question about something, and it always helps me to figure out exactly who I should bother with. So that might be one that you want to try. And if you want to go to the shortcuts, I noticed when you were fiddling with the menu, if you go to the file, preferences or settings.
Here?
Yeah, settings. Where was it? Oh, on the Mac maybe it's different. You have the, can you go there again to the file?
These ones?
No, the preferences, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you have there keyboard shortcuts.
Oh, there we go.
You can get that one, and you can see also there, like if you want to duplicate a line or something like that, you can just type there, and it will find the shortcut for you.
What's crazy is that because I'm using a Mac right now, but at work I'm using a Windows machine, so
Yeah,
it's totally confusing sometimes. I'm pressing the wrong buttons at the beginning of every session.
I
Yeah.
feel you.
Yeah.
My
There we
personal
go.
machine is a Mac. The
Oh,
work machine is Windows. And if I'm working a lot of time with Windows, it's not a problem. But if I start using them, like at the end of the day, I use Mac, and then on the other day I use Windows. It's a bit of a
yeah,
mess.
it is. Especially shortcuts. That's why I brought it up, because what one key does, another key doesn't on the other one. So it's just
Yeah.
another learning curve. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. I suppose a lot of my freelance stuff has been individual. So I haven't looked at like a lot of Git extensions like that, which would be really good for collaboration purposes. So definitely for future, a lot of Git stuff is probably useful.
And when you use usually stuff that you cannot get with those extensions, you can go to the if you do maybe shift Command Shift P, I think, on Mac.
Okay.
No, is it? No. Yeah.
Yes.
If you type there snippets, you can go to configure user snippets. And then you can go to JavaScript or TypeScript, wherever you are using. JavaScript React, maybe.
Yeah.
And you can create your own. snippets. You have an example there. And for instance, if there's things that you use a lot, you can start creating your own. And every
Mhm.
time that you start typing them, that's where you have the prefix there on that
Sure.
example. It just types your thing, so you can make your own custom ones. And if you sync your settings, again on the preferences, you can
Mm.
sync your settings and store the settings on GitHub.
Right.
Every time that you log in and you sync the settings, you get the same extensions, the same preferences. So if you are working with the Mac and the Windows,
Yeah.
every time that you log in, you get exactly the same settings, which means that you'll get also your snippets and all of the goodness that you are used to work on. So you don't have to be, oh, what was that extension that I was using? You can just go there.
There's so many. It's a at some point it tends to get like yeah,
Yeah,
a bit crazy. There's only so
and
many
it,
keys on the board.
yeah, it's a journey, not a destination.
Hmm.
Okay, Mikhaila, thank you so much for today and show us how you use VS Code and why you use it. And hopefully we'll chat soon.
Yes.
Have,
Thank you for having me so much. Thank you for having me so much. Thanks for having me on, and great to talk to you, and great to like
yeah,
learn from each other. I learned a lot, and I'm glad we finally got there in the end with
yeah.
the demo. So look, thanks for having me on. Great to talk to you, and see you soon.
Thank you. Have a nice day and a nice
You
weekend
too.
and bank holiday.
Yes, exactly.
Chat soon. Bye.
Chat soon. Bye bye.